the Prime Minister was scheduled to be in Kolkata this morning, and he was supposed to flag off the Vande Bharat Express, also, dedicate some railway projects to the people, and then, of course, chair the National Ganga Council meeting, which was to be attended by several chief ministers. In fact, Yogi Adityanath, the Uttar Pradesh chief minister, already arrived in the city for that National Ganga Council meet. Now, obviously, the Prime Minister is someone who's known for his 24/7 work ethic, and in spite of this huge personal grief, this is something that officials say that programs that have been scheduled will continue. The Prime Minister could even join in virtually via video conferencing, is what we're being given to understand. So that is, of course, something that is in keeping with the work ethic of the Prime Minister, even though there's been a moment of huge grief in his life with the loss of his mother. He's in Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar, for the last rites of his mother. And of course, we've been reporting on how that has taken place today. Early morning, she passed away, and then, of course, the Prime Minister rushed to to Gandhinagar for the last rites. He's, of course, there. He won't be coming physically, obviously, given that this is such a huge moment of grief for him, losing his mother, who's lived a long, healthy life and been an inspiration for his public service, as he says. But of course, the government programs that were scheduled will continue. And so local BJP leaders also point out how this is, of course, keeping in tune with the work ethic of the Prime Minister. Now, this is, of course, the Vande Bharat Express that was scheduled to be inaugurated by the Prime Minister. It's a train from Howrah to New Jalpaiguri, the first Vande Bharat Express of Eastern India that the Prime Minister was supposed to flag off. This train will, of course, cover the distance that usually takes about more than 10 hours, 12 hours, in almost 7.5 hours, and it will provide a very good connectivity between, the state capital of Kolkata and North Bengal, which is, New Jalpaiguri, where the train will go from here in 7.5 hours. It will leave at, around 6 in the morning, or a little before 6 in the morning, and then, of course, reach New Jalpaiguri at the, in less than, in around 7.5 hours. So that was, of course, the Prime Minister's function that was supposed to go on here in Kolkata. He was supposed to be physically present at this point. Whether he will, of course, join via video conferencing is something that we, officially haven't been intimated. The sources say that he could be even joining the program via video conferencing. But of course, in a moment of huge personal grief, like losing his mother, the Prime Minister, of course, has also seems to have indicated that government programs, government work, and scheduled events should not suffer. Anything that affects the common man should not suffer with the with these programs that were scheduled continuing as per schedule. Now, that is, of course, what the railway authorities here also have been saying, that when the news of the Prime Minister's mother's sad demise came in, they were thinking that that the program may be pushed behind, or maybe pushed back by a few days, but that is not the case. What we've been now given to understand is that the program will continue as per schedule. The Prime Minister is, of course, coping with his loss, with his mother's demise. He's in Gandhinagar, of course, taking part in the last rites. We've, seen those visuals of the Prime Minister, carrying his mother's, his mother for the final time. But obviously, this is something that we've been told by officials that the programs will continue, though the National Ganga Council meeting, which was to be chaired by the Prime Minister, we're not very sure yet, because there are several chief ministers who have also flown into the city for that event. So it could be that the meeting convenes and then they decide, to put it off in keeping in view the fact that the Prime Minister won't be able to attend. But if the Prime Minister attends virtually or via video conferencing, even that could go on. Railway officials here are very categorically saying that, look, this was a program that we thought would get cancelled, but given the work ethic that the Prime Minister's, sort of prioritized over the last few years, that the work goes on 24/7. and his schedule is something that has often been spoken about, his punishing schedule. Also, in a moment of personal grief, they say that this work or this public program will not be cancelled,
Right.
even though the Prime Minister deals with a huge personal loss and grief on the personal front with the loss of his mother.
Right,
Right.
sort of, as they say, the show must go on, and as you were mentioning that it's a difficult time for the Prime Minister. So though not joining these events in West Bengal physically, he will be joining these events virtually. Thanks, Saurabh, for joining us with those details. And the Prime Minister's office tweeted saying that the Prime Minister will join today's scheduled programs in West Bengal via video conferencing. These programs include the launch of key connectivity-related projects and the meeting of the National Ganga Council. As Saurabh was pointing out, that many in the railway authorities and even the local BJP leaders there were expecting for the Prime Minister to not be a part of these events, and it could have been the case that the launch of the first Vande Bharat Express of Eastern India could have been postponed, but the Prime Minister is going to very well launch these projects, but it's going to be via video conferencing. And the Prime
Priyanshi, that's
Minister,
quite an example of, the kind of teachings and the kind of childhood and the kind of, like he did say that his mother has shaped his mind. The fact that his mother had told him to work with intelligence and live life with purity, and that continues, and which is why he continues to work even on such a difficulty.